Some people believe English belongs only to classrooms, to textbooks, to fluent speakers with perfect accents. But English was never meant to be locked inside rules or walls. Language is meant to move, to breathe, to travel with you wherever life takes you. And the truth is, you don't need a perfect place, a perfect teacher, or a perfect moment to master English. You only need the courage to begin where you are. Most people don't struggle with English because they lack intelligence. They struggle because they are afraid. Afraid of being judged. Afraid of making mistakes. Afraid of sounding foolish. But growth has never lived inside fear. Every fluent speaker you admire once stood exactly where you are now. Silent, unsure, and doubting themselves. English is not a talent gifted to a few. It is a skill built by many. You don't wake up fluent one morning. You become fluent sentence by sentence, mistake by mistake, brave attempt by brave attempt. Every wrong word you speak is not a failure, it is evidence that you are trying. And trying is where transformation begins. You don't need a classroom to speak English. You need awareness. Speak to yourself while walking. Describe your day in English. Think your thoughts in English, even if they are broken. Broken thoughts still move forward. Silence does not. Stop waiting to be perfect before you speak. Perfection is a myth that delays progress. Confidence, not grammar, is what people hear first. When you speak with belief, even simple words carry power. Listen more than you speak. Listen to conversations, podcasts, videos, and real people. Let English enter your ears before it leaves your mouth. Fluency is born from familiarity. The more English surrounds you, the more natural it becomes. Your accent is not your enemy. It is proof of your journey. It means you learned more than one word. Don't erase it. Refine your clarity, not your identity. Create your environment wherever you are. Turn your phone into a teacher. Turn your daily routine into practice. Speak English while cooking, while driving, while waiting. Language grows where consistency lives. You will feel uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is not a warning. It is an invitation. Every time you speak despite fear, you train your mind to trust you. And one day, fear will step aside because confidence has taken its place. Mastering English is not about sounding like someone else. It is about expressing yourself freely, clearly, and without apology. The day you stop hiding your voice is the day English truly becomes yours. Speak today, even if your voice shakes. Speak tomorrow, even if you stumble. Because one day, without realizing it, you will speak effortlessly. Not because you were fearless, but because you were consistent. Many people believe that English speaking is a talent that some people are born with and others are not. And this belief silently stops millions from even trying. They look at fluent speakers and assume that confidence, clarity, and smooth expression came naturally to them, as if it were a gift written into their destiny. But English is not a talent reserved for a chosen few. It is a skill, and every skill is learned through time, effort, and repetition. No one is born speaking English, just as no one is born knowing how to drive, swim, or write. Skills are built, not inherited. When we label English as a talent, we give fear an excuse to stay. We tell ourselves that we are not good at languages, or that our brain is not made for English, and slowly we stop practicing. But skills do not respond to excuses, they respond to action. The same mouth that struggles today can speak clearly tomorrow if it is used consistently. The same mind that searches for words now can find them naturally later with enough exposure and practice. Every fluent speaker was once a beginner who mispronounced words, paused awkwardly, and made mistakes in front of others. The only difference is that they did not quit. They treated English like a skill to be trained, not a talent to be judged. They spoke even when their sentences were incomplete. They listened even when they didn't understand everything. Over time, their effort turned into ability, and their ability turned into confidence, Skills grow through repetition, not perfection. When you practice English daily, even for a few minutes, your brain begins to adapt. Words become familiar, sentence patterns feel natural, and hesitation slowly fades. This process is not magical, it is neurological. The brain strengthens what it uses repeatedly. Speaking English daily trains your mind the same way exercise trains the body. Believing English is a skill puts power back into your hands. It means progress is possible at any age, in any place, with any background. It means you don't need to wait for confidence before speaking, because confidence is the result of speaking. The moment you stop asking whether you are talented enough and start asking whether you are practicing enough, everything begins to change. Many people wait for permission before they speak English. They wait for a teacher to tell them they are ready, for someone to correct every sentence, for confidence to arrive, or for fear to disappear. In this waiting, months turn into years, and the voice they could have developed remains silent. But language does not require permission. English does not ask for approval before being spoken. The only barrier standing in the way is the belief that someone else must validate your readiness. From childhood, many learners are conditioned to think that speaking is allowed only after mastering rules. This creates a mindset where silence feels safer than expression. But silence never teaches fluency. Speaking imperfectly teaches more than thinking perfectly. Every time you hold back because you feel not ready, you delay the growth that only comes from usage. You do not need an audience that understands you completely. You do not need perfect pronunciation. You do not need correct grammar in every sentence. You only need willingness. Speaking English is not a performance, it is a practice. The purpose is not to impress, but to improve. When you stop treating English like an exam and start treating it like a tool, fear slowly loses its power. Many people believe they must wait until others invite them to speak. But confidence is not given, it is claimed. The moment you decide to speak English, even to yourself, you break the invisible rule that kept you quiet. You stop asking, "What if I'm wrong?" and start asking, "What if I improve?" Permission seeking often comes from the fear of judgment. But judgment exists whether you speak or stay silent. The difference is that silence keeps you stuck, while speaking moves you forward. Those who progress are not braver. They are simply less willing to wait. They speak in broken sentences, mix words. Pause often and continue anyway. Speaking English daily builds internal authority. You begin to trust your voice. You realize that communication is possible even without perfection. Each attempt reduces hesitation. Each attempt teaches your brain that English is safe to use. Over time, what once felt uncomfortable begins to feel normal. You are allowed to speak English at your current level. You are allowed to make mistakes publicly. You are allowed to learn out loud. The moment you stop waiting for permission from teachers, friends, or your own fear, English becomes a living part of your life instead of a distant goal. Many learners treat mistakes as something to be ashamed of, something to hide, something that proves they are not good enough at English. This mindset creates fear before every sentence and silence before every opportunity. But mistakes are not signs of weakness, they are signs of movement. A person who makes mistakes is actively using the language, while a person who stays silent is not giving themselves a chance to grow. Every mistake you make shows that your brain is stretching beyond comfort. It means you are testing new words, new structures, and new sounds. Growth never happens in comfort. Just as muscles grow by tearing slightly under pressure, language grows when it is pushed through trial and error. If you are making mistakes, it means you are practicing at the edge of your ability, which is exactly where learning happens. Fluent speakers did not avoid mistakes. They passed through thousands of them. They mispronounced words, used the wrong tense, mixed sentences, and felt embarrassed more times than they can count. The difference is that they did not stop because of those moments. They understood, consciously or unconsciously, that mistakes were temporary, but silence could become permanent. Mistakes also train your memory. When you say something wrong and later realize the correct form, your brain remembers it more strongly than if you had memorized it from a book. This kind of learning is deeper and longer lasting because it is connected to experience, emotion, and effort. A corrected mistake becomes a strong anchor in your mind. Fear of mistakes often comes from worrying about how others will react. But most people are not judging as harshly as you imagine. Many admire the courage it takes to speak another language. Even if someone notices your mistake, it does not reduce your value or intelligence. It simply shows that you are learning something new. Avoiding mistakes creates a false sense of safety. You may feel comfortable staying quiet, but comfort does not lead to fluency. The people who improve are not those who speak perfectly. They are those who speak repeatedly. Each imperfect sentence is a step forward, even if it feels awkward at the moment. When you accept mistakes as part of the process, your mindset shifts. You stop fearing English and start exploring it. You become more curious, more expressive, and more willing to try. Mistakes stop being obstacles and start becoming guides that show you exactly where learning is happening. Many learners believe that grammar is the heart of English speaking, and without perfect grammar, communication is impossible. This belief creates hesitation, overthinking, and long pauses before speaking. People mentally correct every sentence before saying it, and by the time they feel ready, the moment to speak has already passed. Grammar is important, but it is not what people notice first. Confidence is what carries your message forward. When someone speaks with confidence, listeners, focus on meaning rather than mistakes. A confident speaker may use simple words and imperfect structures, yet their message is understood and respected. On the other hand, a speaker with strong grammar but low confidence may sound unsure, quiet, and disconnected. Language is not only about accuracy, it is about energy, clarity, and presence. Confidence gives you the freedom to continue speaking even when a sentence is not perfect. It allows you to rephrase, adjust, and keep going without panic. Grammar can be corrected over time, but confidence must be built through action. Every time you choose to speak instead of staying silent, you strengthen that inner belief that your voice deserves space. Many fluent speakers did not begin with perfect grammar. They learned grammar naturally through listening, repetition, and real conversations. Their confidence came first, and accuracy followed. Children learning a language make countless grammatical mistakes, yet no one tells them to stop speaking. They improve because they keep expressing themselves without fear. Over-focusing on grammar often disconnects learners from real communication. Instead of listening fully, they're busy translating in their head. Instead of responding naturally, they search for the correct tense. This mental pressure blocks fluency. Confidence removes this block by shifting focus from correctness to connection. When you speak with confidence, you allow yourself to be human. You show honesty instead of perfection. Listeners respond to authenticity more than accuracy. They remember how you made them feel, not how many grammatical rules you followed. Confidence turns language into a bridge rather than a test. Grammar can be improved through reading, listening, and gentle correction, but confidence grows only when you use the language freely. Speaking with confidence trains your brain to think faster and respond naturally. Over time, grammar begins to settle into place without force, because your mind is no longer frozen by fear. Choosing confidence over perfection does not mean ignoring grammar. It means not letting grammar control your voice. When confidence leads, grammar follows, and communication becomes smoother, clearer, and more natural. Many people limit English to classrooms, believing it only exists in textbooks, exams, and formal lessons. This narrow view turns English into a subject instead of a living language. When English is treated only as academic material, learners wait for classes to improve and stop practicing once the lesson ends. But English was never meant to survive only inside notebooks. It was created to be spoken, heard, felt, and used in real life. Language grows through exposure. The more English appears in your daily life, the more natural it becomes. When you listen to music, watch videos, read signs, or hear conversations in English, your brain begins to recognize patterns without effort. This kind of learning happens quietly and consistently, far beyond what a classroom alone can provide. Classrooms offer structure, but life offers context. In real situations, you learn how words are actually used, how tone changes meaning, and how people communicate emotions, not just information. English in daily life teaches you rhythm, pauses, expressions, and cultural meaning that books cannot fully capture. This makes your speaking more natural and confident. When you allow English to enter your everyday routine, it stops feeling foreign. You can speak English while thinking, planning, or reflecting. You can describe your surroundings, your feelings, or your goals in English. These small moments create powerful habits. They turn English into a companion rather than a challenge. Many fluent speakers did not rely solely on formal education. They learned by listening, copying, and experimenting in real environments. They made English part of their identity, not just their studies. By doing this, they remove ed pressure and replaced it with familiarity. Limiting English to classrooms also creates fear of mistakes. In class, learners often feel judged or tested. Outside the classroom, language feels freer. There is no exam, no marks, no strict correction. This freedom encourages expression and reduces anxiety, which leads to faster improvement. Technology has removed boundaries. English is everywhere. On phones, social media, videos, podcasts, and conversations across the world. When you choose to engage with it daily, you create a learning environment wherever you are. The language begins to fit naturally into your life instead of interrupting it. When English becomes part of how you live, not just how you study, fluency develops quietly, words come faster, sentences feel easier, confidence grows without force because the language no longer feels distant or difficult but familiar and usable in everyday moments. Many English learners try to speak by first thinking in their native language and then translating every sentence into English. This habit feels safe at the beginning, but over time it becomes a barrier. Translation slows the mind, creates hesitation, and increases the chances of confusion. When you think in English, even in simple words, you remove this extra step and allow the language to flow more naturally. Thinking in English does not mean having perfect thoughts or advanced vocabulary. It begins with small moments, naming objects around you, describing simple actions, or forming basic thoughts in English trains your brain to connect meaning directly with the language. Over time, this direct connection reduces dependence on translation and builds fluency from the inside. When you think in English, your speaking becomes faster and more confident. You are no longer searching for the right translation. You are expressing ideas as they appear. This shift changes how English feels. It stops being something you calculate and starts becoming something you experience. The mind begins to treat English as a familiar system rather than a foreign task. This habit also improves sentence structure naturally. Instead of forcing grammar rules, your brain absorbs patterns through repeated exposure. You start to recognize what sounds right because your mind has spent time living in the language. This intuitive understanding is what fluent speakers rely on most. Thinking in English also builds emotional comfort. Fear often comes from uncertainty, and uncertainty comes from unfamiliarity. When English becomes part of your internal dialogue, it feels less intimidating. You are no longer performing for others, you are simply expressing what you already think. This inner familiarity reduces anxiety during real conversations. Many learners believe they must wait until they are fluent to think in English, but fluency actually comes from this habit. Even broken thoughts are valuable. A simple sentence formed in your mind is stronger than a perfect sentence never spoken. Progress is created through use, not readiness. Daily practice makes this shift possible. You can think in English while walking, planning your day, or reflecting on experiences. These private moments remove pressure and allow experimentation without judgment. Slowly, English begins to appear automatically, without effort or fear. When thinking changes, speaking follows. The language becomes lighter, faster, and more personal. English stops feeling like a subject to master and starts becoming a voice you can access whenever you need it. Many learners focus heavily on speaking while underestimating the power of listening. They believe fluency is built by talking more, memorizing more, and forcing sentences out. But language enters the mind through the ears before it leaves the mouth. Listening is the foundation on which natural English speaking is built. And without strong listening habits, speaking often feels forced and unnatural. When you listen regularly to English, your brain begins to recognize sounds, rhythm, and patterns without conscious effort. You start to notice how words connect, how sentences rise and fall, and how meaning is shaped by tone. This exposure trains your mind to understand English as a system, not a set of rules. Speaking becomes easier because your brain already knows how the language should sound. Listening also improves pronunciation naturally. Instead of memorizing phonetic rules, you absorb correct sounds by hearing them repeatedly. Your mouth learns through imitation. This is how children learn language. And adults are no different. The more you listen, the more accurately you speak, even without realizing it. Another powerful benefit of listening is vocabulary growth. Words learned through listening come with context, emotion, and usage. You don't just know the meaning, you know when and how the word is used. This makes your speech more natural and expressive than vocabulary learned only from lists. Listening builds confidence as well. When you understand more, fear reduces. Conversations no longer feel overwhelming because your brain is familiar with common phrases and responses. You stop panicking about what others are saying and start focusing on how to respond naturally. Many learners avoid listening because they feel frustrated when they don't understand everything. But understanding every word is not necessary. Even partial understanding is powerful. Your brain fills gaps over time. With consistent exposure, clarity improves without force. Listening can happen anywhere. Through conversations, videos, podcasts, songs, or even background audio. It does not require full attention all the time to be effective. Passive listening still trains the brain, while active listening sharpens understanding even more. When listening becomes a daily habit, speaking stops feeling like a struggle. Words appear faster, sentences feel familiar, and responses come more naturally. The language feels less foreign because it has already become a part of your inner world through sound. And repetition. Many people believe they need long study hours or special courses to become fluent in English, but real change comes from what you do daily. The brain responds more to consistency than intensity. Speaking English for a few minutes every day is far more powerful than speaking once a week for several hours. Daily speaking creates familiarity, and familiarity removes fear. When you speak English every day, your brain begins to treat it as a normal activity rather than a stressful task. At first, words may feel slow and uncomfortable, but repetition slowly rewires neural pathways. The mind learns that English is safe, usable, and part of your routine. This rewiring is what transforms effort into ease. Daily speaking strengthens memory and recall. Words you once struggled to remember begin to appear naturally. Sentence structures become easier to form because your brain has practiced them repeatedly. This is not forced learning, it is natural adaptation. The more often your brain uses English, the more efficiently it retrieves it. Speaking daily also reduces hesitation. When English is used regularly, the fear of not knowing what to say fades. You become comfortable starting conversations, even if they are simple. Small daily efforts remove the pressure of perfection and replace it with progress. You do not need an audience to speak daily. Speaking to yourself is powerful. Describing your actions, thoughts, or plans in English trains fluency without judgment. These private moments allow experimentation and freedom. Over time, this confidence transfers naturally into real conversations. Daily speaking builds emotional strength. Each attempt, no matter how small, proves to your mind that you can express yourself. This repeated proof builds self-trust. Confidence grows not from talent, but from evidence. And daily speaking provides that evidence. Many learners wait until they feel confident to speak more. But confidence is the result of speaking more. Daily practice flips this mindset. It removes waiting and replaces it with action. Even on busy or low-energy days, a few sentences are enough to maintain momentum. When English becomes part of your daily rhythm, fluency develops quietly. You may not notice improvement each day, but over time, you will notice that words come faster, thoughts flow more smoothly, and fear has less control over your voice. Many people believe they will improve their English once they feel comfortable, confident, and ready. They wait for fear to disappear before they speak. But comfort has never been the place where growth begins. English, like any meaningful change, grows when you step beyond what feels safe and familiar. Courage, not comfort, is what pushes fluency forward. Speaking English often feels uncomfortable because it exposes vulnerability. You may worry about making mistakes, being misunderstood, or sounding less intelligent than you are. This discomfort is natural. It does not mean you are failing, it means you are stretching. Every new skill creates resistance at the beginning because the mind prefers familiarity over growth. When you avoid discomfort, you protect your ego, but you also limit your progress. Staying silent may feel safe, but it keeps your English exactly where it is. Speaking despite fear sends a powerful message to your brain that learning is more important than comfort. This choice builds resilience and confidence over time. Courage in English speaking does not mean being fearless. It means acting even when fear is present. Courage is raising your hand even when your heart is racing. Courage is starting a sentence without knowing how it will end. Each brave moment weakens fear slightly and strengthens belief in your ability. Discomfort also accelerates learning. When you speak in unfamiliar situations, your brain pays more attention. You become more aware of gaps in vocabulary, pronunciation, and structure. These gaps are not failures. They are guides showing you exactly where growth is needed. Many fluent speakers recall moments of embarrassment, awkward pauses, and broken sentences. These moments did not stop them. They shaped them. Over time, what once felt terrifying becomes normal. The brain adapts quickly when challenged consistently. Choosing courage repeatedly changes your relationship with English. The language stops being something you fear and starts becoming something you face. Each attempt builds emotional strength. You learn that mistakes do not destroy you and judgment does not define you. When you step outside your comfort zone often enough, that zone expands. English becomes familiar. Conversations become easier. Fear loses its intensity because you have proven to yourself that you can survive discomfort and continue speaking anyway. Many learners feel pressure to speak English with a perfect accent, believing that any deviation from native pronunciation will make them sound less intelligent or less capable. This fear often creates hesitation, self-consciousness, and silence. But an accent is not a weakness. It is a reflection of your journey, your background, and your courage to speak another language. Your accent is part of your voice, not a barrier to communication. An accent shows that you have learned more than one word. It is proof that you have expanded your mind and embraced new sounds, rhythms, and patterns. It does not make your English invalid or less understandable. In fact, many people find accents unique and engaging because they carry personality and authenticity. Fluent speakers often do not have a perfect accent either. What makes them understood is clarity, confidence, and consistency, not imitation. The goal of speaking English is communication, not perfection. Your accent matters far less than your ability to express ideas, convey emotion, and connect with others. Focus on clarity first, then refine pronunciation gradually if you choose. Many learners hide their voices or reduce their English use because they fear judgment. But the world is more forgiving than you imagine. Listeners respond positively to effort and clarity, not flawless pronunciation. Even if you are occasionally misunderstood, these moments become opportunities to improve, not reasons to stop speaking. Embracing your accent also frees your mind from overthinking. When you stop trying to erase it, energy shifts from fear to expression. You can speak more fluently and confidently. The brain learns faster when you are relaxed. And relaxed communication improves pronunciation naturally over time. Your accent can even become a strength. It makes you memorable, authentic, and relatable. People notice confidence and fluency first, not the exact way you pronounce each word. By accepting your accent, you accept yourself as a learner, a communicator, and a courageous speaker willing to try despite imperfection. Accent is a detail, not the foundation of fluency. Focus on using English daily, thinking in English, listening actively, and speaking courageously. These habits improve overall communication far more than trying to sound native ever could. Over time, clarity increases, mistakes reduce, and your voice grows stronger while your accent remains uniquely yours. The moment you stop viewing your accent as a weakness, English becomes less intimidating. It is no longer something to hide, correct obsessively, or fear. Instead, it becomes a tool you use to express yourself fully, freely, and confidently. Many learners believe they need a perfect environment to practice English. A quiet classroom, a native speaking teacher, or a city where English is the main language. This belief often becomes a barrier because most people do not have access to such ideal conditions. The truth is that an environment for learning English can be created anywhere, with intention, creativity, and consistency. You do not need permission or special circumstances to start. Language grows when it is surrounded by exposure, repetition, and use. You can turn your home, your commute, or even your smartphone into an English environment. Listening to podcasts, watching videos, reading articles, and speaking aloud all transform ordinary spaces into opportunities for learning. The key is to immerse yourself actively rather than waiting for a perfect external setting. Creating your environment also means bringing English into your routine. Describe your daily actions in English. Narrate your thoughts while walking, or speak to yourself in the mirror. These small, consistent habits build a personal environment that encourages fluency. Over time, your brain begins to associate everyday life with English, making the language familiar, comfortable, and ready to use when real opportunities arise. Many people feel discouraged because their surroundings do not include other English speakers. But interaction can be created digitally or through practice with friends, online communities, or even by recording yourself. The more you surround yourself with listening, speaking, and thinking in English, the more natural it becomes, even if nobody else is involved. Your environment does not have to be perfect, it has to be consistent. This approach also removes pressure. Waiting for the ideal setting often leads to procrastination and fear. By creating your own environment, you take control of your learning journey. You are no longer dependent on circumstances or other people. You build confidence by actively shaping your space for growth. The power of self-created environments lies in their adaptability. You can practice anytime, anywhere, and in any situation. A few minutes of deliberate English practice while cooking, commuting, or walking adds up over weeks and months. Your environment becomes a tool for immersion, repetition, and reinforcement, transforming ordinary moments into meaningful practice. When you learn to create your own environment, you realize that external conditions are secondary. Motivation, consistency, and intentional exposure matter more than location or resources. English becomes a part of your daily life, not a distant goal that waits for the right time or place. Consistency is the secret ingredient that transforms effort into fluency. Many learners approach English in bursts, studying intensively for a day or two, and then stopping for weeks. This irregular pattern slows progress and creates frustration. True mastery does not come from sporadic effort. It comes from steady, repeated practice, no matter how small. Each consistent action compounds over time, shaping habits that lead to lasting improvement. When you engage with English every day, your brain begins to expect it. Neural pathways strengthen with repeated use, making recall faster and more automatic. Words, phrases, and sentence structures start to appear naturally because the mind has been conditioned to access them regularly. Daily exposure makes language part of your thinking, not just something you memorize for tests or special occasions. Consistency also builds confidence. Speaking English regularly, even imperfectly, proves to yourself that you are capable. Each small attempt, each sentence spoken, is evidence of progress. Over time, hesitation